Okay, so this episode is really actually about bringing some clarity to another topic. So I had the question come up: what happens if the person that we're dealing with, let's say there's two people and they have opposing perspectives, and let's say they're collaborating, they're part of a team, and you need consensus in order to move forward. How do you approach that? If you're not meant to invalidate the perspective of the other person, but your perspective is entirely polarized to theirs. And it's a great question. And in fact, I would actually recommend, if anyone listening is in business or involved in a project, or innovating in some way, creating something that doesn't exist, or creating anything at all really, is to find someone to work with who's the polar opposite of you. Because the process of reconciling your perspectives is profound, to say the least. And I would even go a step further and say, if you're involved in a really big project, I've been involved with a really big project that's been going on for the last, for me, over a decade, but with my team for over 5 years. And we complement each other so extraordinarily well. And it's because we're so different. We are so different. And what we have is, so there's 3 of us involved in the main project I'm working on at the moment. And we call ourselves the Power of 3. And it's because I'm not really a linear thinker. I'm a non-linear thinker. So when I create, for me, it's all about the vision, and I totally trust the vision, and I stay with the vision. I allow it to unfold, and when I'm creating, I can always see my vision in front of me. When I get an inspiration, I see the vision expand, and I'm just totally vested in the vision unfolding and dedicated to realizing that vision. And so the way I approach creating something is to just fill all the space in between. So I see the vision out in front of me, and I know what it is I want. I can envisage it. And, I give my vision, I give all my thoughts unconditional presence until they evolve into a vision, and until I interpret, what it means to me. And that's actually the most challenging part for me, is sometimes my vision is so big that I even struggle to interpret it at times. And I know that sounds strange, but it's just how it works. And, so I've got someone, so I'm extremely non-linear in my thinking. It's almost chaotic, but it's, but I'm really good at bringing order to that chaos. And so I can say, here's a vision. This is where we are now. And I'm filling the space in between where I am now and where that vision is fully realized. Now, so what my business partner is extremely good at, and he's the complete opposite of me, is he's extremely ordered. and to the point of being anal, but not to the point where it's anal for no reason. It's just his nature is he's an explorer. He explores. And so when I bring a vision to the table, all visions hold a desire. So when I bring a vision to the table, he's running his mind down all the potential scenarios, the potential worst case scenarios, as well as the best case scenarios. And he'll ask me questions to explore with me, so he can just send his mind down all of those potential scenarios. And, lots of people, they think that when you're creating something that you have to just focus on the good stuff, and you just have to focus on what you want and don't focus on what you don't want. And I just want to say that's just utter nonsense. It's utter nonsense. Because that's, for people that only do that, they are in resistance to negativity. They have a fear of negativity. And the truth is that if you ignore the potential worst case scenario, what actually happens is by focusing on the positive, what you're actually doing is resisting the negative, and you're actually breeding uncertainty, because it remains unknown. It remains unknown. And so what actually happens is, while you're busy focusing on just the positive stuff, you're actually anxious that something could come out of the abyss, could come out of the chaos and surprise you or blindside you. So what it does is, when you explore all of the negative, potentially, what's the worst thing that could happen, you play it out in your mind. And I know a lot of you will be going, oh, you'll manifest it. And I'm telling you, you won't. What will happen is you'll go down it. You'll see what the worst case scenario is. And then what you create are ways to negate it. But you're always working with the truth, regardless of how negative that truth may be, how negative it could be in the long run. And so you can consciously negate it. And that's how you breed certainty. That's how you bring certainty into a scenario where you're innovating. And because we're constantly innovating, the project that we're working on, it's never been done before. And so we can't look at it. Well, there are some scenarios where we can, but we can't really look at a blueprint and go, this is how they did it. So, we'll mimic that. When you're innovating, the blueprint is your vision. And so, we're particular. We reconcile everything when we work together. If there's any discord, we reconcile it. And we only move forward when there's harmony, and sometimes there's conflict. But we're all committed to giving each other the patience to understand each other's perspective. And we don't move forward until that has been reconciled. And, but yeah, as I say, there is still conflict sometimes, but every time, without fail, it's always because the perspective of the other person isn't yet understood. And, and I think this is really how I wanted to answer this question, is with this example, because most of the time we are not aware, we don't understand our own perspective well enough. And that's what causes the most disharmony. So it's very hard to ask someone else. Well, it's very hard to expect of someone else to understand your perspective if you don't fully understand it yourself. And it's a skill, being able to give yourself unconditional presence and stay with your own thoughts until they unfold, and to have the courage to determine what they mean for yourself. And so it really is a skill. And I think what we've become really good at is asking each other questions that unearth the perspective. And sometimes it emerges in the moment. Sometimes I wasn't aware of my own perspective as well. Sometimes he wasn't aware of his own perspective until it comes out. And so all you can really do is commit to the process. But we always reach harmony, always. And we're very fortunate that the third member of our team is an incredible interpreter of the vision. So sometimes I will, and it's literally like this. It'll be, so what I'm seeing, I'll say, so what I'm seeing is this, and once we've done that, it enables this to happen, and once we go in and do that, it dissolves this barrier, so we can then initiate this project, and then we can do this. And then I'll say, but I'll say something like, when I saw this part happening here, it was blue and it had a funny texture, or it'll be something random. And I haven't been able to decipher for myself what it means. And this third member of our team, every time just brings a really deep meaning to it. And, my biggest challenge is, because I'm operating with big concepts the whole time. And it's like, when I'm communicating with people, I'm often describing, it's like if someone was describing a painting to you. That's the way I talk, and sometimes people don't understand what I'm talking about. And you can probably tell by the content that I talk about on this podcast. That's really my true nature, is to speak the way that I'm speaking now. And so I'm always trying to, it's something I always have to work on, is helping people to understand what I see and what I want. And, without this other member of our team, there's just no way I would have been able to interpret my vision for the people around us that are helping us realize this vision, because we've got a team of people who are all doing a whole bunch of different tasks. And, there have been times where I have struggled to share my vision in ways that can be easily acted upon or actioned in the ideal way, or in a way that engages their full capability and capacity in the ideal way. And the bridge to that is always deeper understanding. It's always interpretation. And, she's a wordsmith. The words that she uses, every word has meaning. And you can just understand straight away. And after it happens, I'm always to myself, I'm just like, why couldn't I do that? It seems so obvious now that you've said it that way, but that's the thing, is recognizing where we're limited. So we can, collaborate with people who are gifted in that area. Just because we can do something doesn't mean that we should do it. My ultimate vision is to be, is to not be needed. I want all the projects that I'm involved in to run autonomously, so I can hover just hover as a visionary and just share my vision. That's all I want to do. I don't want to be dependent on, or there's nothing within any of the projects that I'm involved with that I want to actually do myself. You know, my ideal day is just developing a vision. I just love it. I just love it. Receiving a new thought, new inspiration is just my favorite thing. And just being with it. It's like it feels like nurturing to me. You know, you get an idea, you get a concept, feels inspiring. So you're staying with it, and then you start sort of asking questions of it. You know, you'll think to yourself, oh, okay, I just had this thought. It seems a bit out of context because my plan was to do this. And so you just start questioning it. Why does that come up? You know, and you're talking to yourself, that you're just holding this intention to evoke more clarity, but you're staying with it the whole time. You don't break it. You stay with it. Then you get another thought, and then it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle. And, you know, I think the key is, most people are oblivious to the fact that this is happening all day, every day. They're getting thoughts, and these thoughts contain a potential vision. It's just a skill. It's just understanding what a thought is and what it has the potential to become. That it's like the way I see it is that it's like every thought is like a sperm. And when we give it unconditional presence, then we fertilize it. And then what's born out of it is meaning. And, and that meaning is imbued within a vision. And we stay with that vision until we can decipher a meaning. And that's what we express into the world. Because, you know, to live with meaning it's the only way to live at all, really. What's the point otherwise? You know, the only reason that any human being would finish living their life and look back on it with regret is because they are unconscious of why they made the choices that they made. They're devoid of meaning. And that's the beauty of having a vision and holding a vision, is that it's not that it's because one thing I've come to learn is that the vision always expands. You never get there. But what it does mean is that every moment of every day you can make a choice to fill in more of the space between where you are now and where that vision is. And so it has meaning. I'm doing this so that once I've done that, it means I can do this. Once I've completed that, it means that. And it's just that simple. It's just that simple. You can break it down to the so that. So that, so that, so that, so that. And you'll see aspects of your life. It'll be like they'll just begin to light up all of a sudden. You know, if any of you have felt stagnated before, if you feel stagnation in your life, or you feel like you can't create momentum, it's always to do with meaning. Momentum is simply meaningful action. If I do this, it means that. If I do that, it means that. And you can only have a means that if you have a vision. and if you're committed to that vision. I think one thing I come across a lot is people who are waiting for something. They're always waiting. I just need to wait until this happens. I just need to wait until that happens. Once I've received this, then I can do that. Once this happens, then I can do that. And that's like the polar opposite of of living meaningfully, is when you're waiting for something to happen before you make a choice to move towards what it is you actually want. And it's placing conditions upon experiencing meaning right now. Once this, then I can that. So you can see they're very similar, symmetrically, like, once this happens, then I'll be able to do that. Whereas to live a meaningful life, to make choices that hold meaning, you're saying, once I create this, once I do this, once I've completed this, once I've moved towards this, then I can. You're not placing your conditions upon some unseen authority that, at a subliminal level, you're kind of asking to help you, or wanting to come and wave a magic wand, and all of a sudden you've received everything, so then you can move forward. And it's a unique perspective. It's not one, well, it probably isn't unique. I think the issue is I struggle to relate to it. I don't really understand it, but I do know that it's very common, but debilitating. It's debilitating because you're holding that energy of waiting, just waiting. And meanwhile, there's, a huge list of choices you could make right now that hold meaning. But, and it's a huge but, you have to have a vision. If you don't have a vision, you're never going to be able to really experience meaning, because you can't have a so that. And, my hope for everyone that listens to this is that if you are in a scenario where you're waiting for something to happen so that this resonates, and that you're able to, just sink into your own thoughts that are around you right now. Just invite them in and see what they hold for you. See if there's a vision within them. Just give them the unconditional presence that they really want. Let them show you a vision, and then my hope is that you have the courage to just trust that. Trust that that holds your highest potential for fulfillment and to live a meaningful life. And you'll never have to wait for anything ever again, because you can just choose to take a meaningful step towards your vision. That's my hope. If you're not there yet, doesn't matter. But it'll come if you really want it, because that's why you're listening to this audio. Okay, so hopefully that's, illuminated a couple of things about, understanding. Understanding is the ultimate. Understanding ourselves, of course, first and foremost. Understanding other people. But, often we think we understand ourselves, and the truth is we didn't really. And that's totally okay. It's totally okay. It's totally normal. But if we're able to bring in the practice of receiving our thoughts and giving them unconditional presence, we'll begin to understand ourselves at a much, much, much deeper level. The meaning of our thoughts, the meaning of our emotions, the meaning of our visions, the understanding of our interpretation of experiences we've had in the past, that we're now equipped and mature enough to reconcile now. You know? So, yeah, I hope that this begins to look like a jigsaw puzzle, and, you know, slowly all the dots are connecting, or all the pieces are starting to fall into place. Okay, that's it for now. Talk soon.